Thank you and welcome to the show for today. You are watching Perspectives and I am host Alana McLaughlin. This morning on the show I am discussing black country artists in Nashville, and I have Tony Evans Jr. here to discuss his background, education, his career, and ultimately the impact he seeks to leave on Tennessee communities. Tony, thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And really, to start this first segment, I just want to get into your early childhood, that early background. I know you're from Georgia, and so tell me a little about that.
So I grew up in the metro Atlanta area. I was born in Decatur, and I moved down to the south side when I was around like 8 or 9 years old. And yeah, man, everything that goes along with it, you know, that's just where I'm from.
No, let's break it down. Tell me about what the household looked like. Tell me, did you have siblings? What was going on in the house? Tell me what childhood looked like. Did you play sports?
I played all the sports. My first sport was golf. I played soccer. I played football. I played basketball. I was terrible at basketball, but I did play. And I am the middle child, so I have an older sister and a younger brother. And grew up with both my parents for the beginning of my childhood. But yeah, I had a good childhood, man. Like, it was cool.
And tell me what music looked like in that childhood. Some music that was in the house, those early inspirations.
Oh man, everything. So I listened to a whole lot of Michael Jackson and Earth, Wind and Fire, Luther Vandross, and obviously I'm a country singer, so I listened to, you know, George Strait, and I think back then I was listening to a lot of Brad Paisley, and yeah, all types of musical influences, man. I listened to a lot as a kid.
Now I know you ended up playing flute, which is super.
So there's a story behind that.
Tell me.
When I started in band, I think I was in 6th grade, nobody played instruments yet. So they had these auditions for who was going to play what instrument. Basically, the band director wanted to see who was naturally good at what. And first day, the only instrument that they were auditioning for was flute. And I was a kid, and I was bored. So I'm like, I'm gonna just try out just because I want to do it. I don't actually want to play the flute. I wanted to play the trumpet, you know, but I was the best at it. So he was like, you're definitely playing flute. Like, you have no choice. So that's how that ended up happening.
And how long did you stick with it?
Like 2 years.
So you really weren't bad.
I was a flautist. That's what they call it.
And really, to wrap this first segment, tell me about your early singing career. Tell me about how you figured out that was something that you liked.
So my pops was a singer. My pops was a singer. He actually had a deal with Capitol out of Nashville. He traveled to Nashville and got his deal here. So when I was a kid, I was always in studios. I was sleeping on studio couches. My older sister was also a singer. She was working on her career at the time, so I was always in that environment. And when I was 10 years old, I was like, this is what I want to do. And I knew it was what I wanted to do, you know, so that's kind of where it all started, was my pops.
And take me through the next steps. I know your first deal came shortly after.
Yeah, I signed a deal with the independent label when I was around 11 or 12, I believe. Started shooting. I made one song. The title we won't speak of, but I did make a song when I was a kid and shot a music video for it and all of it, and it was an experience. You know, it was an experience because I thought I was just gonna be a star when I was a kid. You feel what I'm saying? You know, as kids do think. But then I learned what the music industry was actually about, and it's very, very difficult, and it's very frustrating at times. And I walked into my first major label meeting when I was like 12, and they told me I wasn't good enough, and like the whole thing. So it all started around that age.
And I noticed you have this ability of talking about these things like super smooth. You're like, yeah, it just happened. But I'm really curious to know the mental associated with a 12-year-old that's under that much pressure.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a lot of pressure, man. I remember walking into the label, I won't say the name, but walking into that major label for the first time, and the people who represented me at the time in the car as we're walking in, he says, if you do this right, we're gonna make $1 million. And as a kid, I'm like, like, what do I do with that, you know? And I went in and I bombed. Like, I just did terrible. And the people at the label office, they started showing me other kids that were better than me. And they were like, you need to learn how to sing like this. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh
So
my
it was like just turmoil for a kid. But you have to go through things like that and stick through it and keep going to actually find success.
And Tony, in our second segment, we're going to pick back up on actually like taking all of that negativity and turning it into the success you are, the star that they did not see you as being you are today. And I just really want to just get into that artistry, and I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where Tony and I will be discussing Black country artists in Nashville, his artistry, and the impact he seeks to leave on Tennessee communities. Welcome to the second segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin. You are watching Perspectives. This morning on the show, I have Tony Evans Jr. here discussing his artistry, his background, education, his transition to Tennessee, and ultimately the impact he seeks to leave on Music City. In our first segment, we talked about Tony's background, his early life, his inspiration from different artists, his father's background in music, and we left off talking about his first major deal at 12 years old, and we talked about just some of the mental health associated with having so much pressure put on you at such an early age. And we're going to pick right back up after that experience in this second segment. And Tony, I'll let you take it from there. You're walking out of this label meeting. You're probably feeling pretty defeated.
Oh yeah, completely deflated. Like for the first time, you know, it's happened many times since then. But after a while, you learn that the failures, like, they don't mean anything. It's just kind of part of it, and sticking with it, like I said, you know, sticking with it and pushing through to the next opportunity is the name of the game.
And now tell me that next opportunity that came. I know I got you going back.
I don't even know. Like around that time, there were so many stories like that. I mean,
a lot of closed doors.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a whole lot of closed doors. I mean, I was so young at that time. I didn't really see a win for years and years, you know. I mean, I could tell you about high school if you want to talk about that.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about everything Tony, so tell me about that.
So I guess high school was very interesting for me because I was very different. You know, I was very different in high school. I was popular in high school, but I was also still the guy that I was a singer, you know, and I wasn't leaving high school and going to soccer practice. I was leaving high school and going to the studio, you know, in Atlanta with such and such producer. Like, you know, it was very different for me. I didn't feel like people could relate to me because they couldn't, you know, at all. But that taught me a lot because nobody in high school even knew I liked country music either. There were very few people in high school that knew I loved country music because I was in Atlanta, you know, and it's not popular in the zeitgeist of that city to, you know, have those interests. But being so different and getting used to that and moving in that comfortably, after a while, I was like, I just stopped caring. I'm like, I'm gonna just do what I want to do and what I love. And that's kind of how I got here, you know.
Now, before getting to Nashville, I have to ask, if you were singing in high school and they didn't know you liked country, what were you singing?
I was just writing songs. I was just singing, like, I loved John Mayer around that time, so it was kind of just singer-songwriter, acoustic, whatever came out type music. But it's funny because, well, I guess I didn't tell you the story, but when I was a kid, around that 12 years old age, my family told me I was going to be a country singer. So, you know, singing at the family reunions, Lil Tony brings his guitar and he's singing for everybody, and they all saw that, and I didn't. I completely rejected it at that age. I'm like, I don't want to be a country singer, you know, because we was riding around listening to T.I. and Jeezy and you know, cranking that Soulja Boy and, you know, whatever was going on at that time. Like, it was not a cool thing. So I rejected it, but it was always there for me, you know, and it influenced me along the way. All the songs I was writing, it was always there, you know. I just didn't realize it, and I just didn't make that conscious decision until later, you know. So yeah, it was always like real similar to to what I'm doing now. Even remembering the songs that I wrote when I was 12, like I still remember them. You know, it was always leading to here.
And what were the topics? Still the same?
Love songs, man. I had this one song called "Love Sick." It was one of the first songs that I wrote. And
Is it out anywhere?
Of course not. No, and it never will be. but yeah, man, I've always written love songs, heartbreak, you know, love and love lost. Like that's my thing.
And with that, tell me about your transition to Nashville.
So I started coming to Nashville about 7, 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. How old were you?
Probably around 18, something like that. And it was shocking to me because I had no clue that there was a city that was only about music. You know, like I still remember that ride on the highway coming into the city for the first time. I'm seeing all the billboards and I'm seeing like all these country singers, everything, honky tonks and live music and all everything's about music. And then I found out about Belmont University, like the music school basically, like, and I'm like, dang, I could have actually went to college, you know, because yeah, it was just a very eye-opening experience. And from there on out, you know, I've been here for about 3 years now. And yeah, it's taught me a lot.
I'm trying not to get too much into your current career and trying to save that for the final segment, but I want to ask, tell me about some of the first singles you released here in Nashville. Any stories behind them? Making you think.
Yeah, it just depends on the song. I mean, we'll say like Somebody's Gotta Do It. That's probably the song that most people know from me. I made that song. Where did I make that song? I made that song in a closet with 3 Belmont students, and we stayed up like 14 hours of like just working and black coffee and just making it happen. And that was the first song that I ever heard on the radio, you know, and my whole family was there. Everybody, that was the first moment where everybody started actually like believing that something might happen, you know. So I do have fond memories of that song.
And it all spawned from black coffee on Belmont Boulevard.
Oh yeah, black coffee, man. Anytime I drink black coffee now, I'm thinking about that.
Oh my God, I don't know how you're drinking black coffee. You're a serial killer. In our final segment, we're going to pick back up, though, on just your artistry. I wanted to jump to 2020. I want to talk about Lady in the Song. I want to talk about Starless, your current career, some of the things you have going on, and ways that Nashville communities can support you.
Right.
And I encourage our viewers to tune into the final segment of Perspectives, where Tony and I will be discussing Black country artists in Nashville, his background, his education, his artistry, and ways that we can support him. Welcome to the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am your host, Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning on the show, I have Tony Evans Jr., country artist, here discussing his background, his education, his career, and ultimately the impact he seeks to leave on Tennessee communities. In our first 2 segments, we discussed Tony's early life in Georgia, his transition to Nashville, some of the challenges that he faced in this career, and now we're jumping to the year of 2020. I'm specifically going to talk about Lady in the Song. And I want you to tell me about writing that, getting it published, actually seeing feedback in the reception, the monetary, you know, benefit from that. And basically, we're going to start there. And you just tell me about Tony.
Lady in the Song is definitely a fan favorite for my fans. And I think it's just because of the story. Like, in that song, I just kind of really dove into painting a picture. And lost my train of thought.
No, but you're good. I'm seriously, you're just telling me just how this song was born and basically all the goodness that was associated with it. And really that triggers trickles down to your next singles, which then trickle down to Starless, the EP.
Right.
And that's really what I want to hear about. That's your first published EP, am I correct?
For sure. It's my first body of work, definitely.
And tell me about writing that, getting that out there, and how that reception felt.
It was interesting. A lot of it was just first time stuff, I had to really figure out who I was creatively, because a lot of my music that I've been writing, I hadn't released a song since I was 11 or something, up until these songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really figure out who I was musically, and I'm still figuring that out. But even like you said, Lady in the Song and Baby One's Diamonds and all of these songs that I released up until then they were me figuring it out. Starless was me figuring it out. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to feel like, okay, I figured something out. Maybe not completely, maybe I'm not all the way there, but like it's a journey, and with the new music that I'll have coming out soon, I feel like people will hear something different, and they'll be able to see the progression.
And tell me, especially with this new music coming out, your involvement with Broadcast Music Incorporated down here. Are you signed to BMI, or are you just working closely with BMI? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm with BMI, man. My guy Shannon Sanders brought me on, and there's some good people over there. Clay Bradley, they look out for me, and they just brought me on for the Slim and Huskies BMI collaboration at the Analog for CMA Fest, and that was really cool. You were there.
I'm going to tell you how awesome the world is.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Sanders was my pilot episode of the show.
Really?
And
Great.
not only that, he invited us to this event, and when I get there, I get to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And I introduced myself to everyone that night, and I enjoyed everyone, but I told myself, like, I am going to hound Tony Evans Jr. until I get him in my chair, because I saw star quality. You have a beautiful voice, but you have stage presence, and all the performers did. But I was seriously taken with that, and we just have to give Shannon his flowers for setting that up.
For sure.
Now tell me, them asking about the Slim and Huskies Unplugged music series, them asking you to perform, how did that feel?
Great. Anytime BMI calls me for anything, like I said, those are my guys over there, so I'm always quick to say yes. And I love that room too, the Analog at the Hutton. It's one of my favorite rooms in the city. It's a vibe, it has the upstairs and the lights and the carpets, and it's a really good feeling performing on that stage. So it's always a pleasure.
I'm excited to see you on the Opry stage.
Oh yeah, I haven't done that yet. So
really?
I haven't done it.
I don't know why not. But that leads me to asking about, tell me what the future looks like for Tony Evans Jr.
The future looks like...
Tell me dreams, plans, everything in between.
A whole lot of music coming out, a whole lot of shows. I just want to get on stage, any stage that'll have me. I just want to perform.
And why?
Because it's what I do.
Why?
It's all that I know. Like,
why? I want you to tell me, what's the benefit of this black man in country? What sets you apart from Brad Paisley, from Miranda Lambert, from boom, boom, boom?
That's what you... So, I'll tell you, because most people that look like us don't realize that it's okay to like country music.
You can say black people.
Black people, my brothers and sisters, they don't realize that it's okay to like country music. They feel this racial, political stigma, that country music is this type of person, and it's like, it's just music. It's just music. It's not culture. It's not beer. It's not trucks. It's not mud. You get what I'm saying? I sing country love songs. I only sing about things that are authentic to me. You get what I'm saying? So when you're listening to my music, you're hearing the truth. And I know that I have the effect on people, black people, and all types of people. And when they hear my music, they see an entry point into something that they didn't feel welcome in before. So that's one of the main reasons that I do it. And also, I'm just selfish. I love doing it. I do it for me too. Like, I love getting on stage, and I love singing. I love looking you in your eyes and singing to you. You get what I'm saying? Like, I get a thrill out of that.
That's exactly what you did. I was like, I was in the front row. I'm like, oh, he's singing to me. I was like, I love him. And seriously, that's the feeling. I was talking to other women who were just in different spots in the room. They were like, oh my gosh, did he look at you? I was like, yes, he looked at me too. And then it led me to ask about how did you build that stage presence?
Just watching the greats, watching Teddy Pendergrass and watching Nat King Cole, like those two guys, like they make it feel so impossible to be that good that all I can do is just hope to get there one day and just watch and just try to soak some of that up, you know.
And emulate it.
And emulate it, you know. So when I get on stage, I'm just like, I'm not consciously thinking it, but it's like, man, I'm Nat King Cole now. You know, that's one of my goals. It's just like the way I feel when I watch him, I want other young brothers way later down the line to look at my performances and say, man, I want to be able to do that. You know, be able to feel it, because you feel it when those artists are performing. Like, it's palpable, like it's raw and it's real. You know,
emotion.
The emotion, and you can't fake it. It's not a show. It's like, it comes from the inside, you know, so, yeah.
And Tony, in this last about 2 minutes of this segment, plug yourself in. How can people support you, connect with you? I know you're laughing at it, but seriously, somebody's watching this right now saying, ooh, I need to learn him. I need to go to his show. I love Tony. I'm that person that's watching this saying that. But seriously, plug yourself in.
Hey, follow me on Instagram at Tony Evans Jr. To keep up with everything that I'm doing. I have a phone number in my Instagram bio that you can shoot a text message to, and it'll give you notifications for everything I'm doing when I post my YouTube videos, and I have a clothing line that's gonna drop soon. And so all of those things that I'm doing, you can keep up with through my Instagram. Yeah.
And Apple, Spotify, all the streaming.
And all of that too. It's all interwoven. You can stream my music everywhere. Anywhere you listen to music, just search Tony Evans Jr. and you can find my stuff.
And Tony, I just want to thank you. Thank you for letting me bombard you after a performance. I almost never go up to people fresh off the stage, but I was like, he's right here. And so thank you for talking to me, and thank you for sharing your perspective with our viewers. And
thank you for having me.
And thank you for the impact that you've had on Music City, because we do not have many Black country artists, but I know like artists like you, One the Duo, Puddin' are breaking that mold. And it makes me really proud to be in a city that promotes Black people in country, in our genre that originated, you know, from instruments in West Africa.
Right.
This is our genre. And so thank you for just bringing that kind of that resurgence, kind of being the face of that. And to our viewers, I want to encourage you to continue to keep in touch and keep following Tony, stay abreast with all of his events, all of his music shows, and basically continue to support Black country artists in Nashville. Thank you for allowing me the space to share one more perspective, and I wish you a good morning.